The ultimatum. The vast expanse of space had never felt so small to Admiral Sarah Chen as she stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon, Earth's most advanced warship. Her eyes, sharp and determined, scanned the holographic display before her, showing the positions of both human and Zarkonian vessels scattered across the Orion arm of the Milky Way. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the weight of humanity's fate resting on her shoulders. Lieutenant Commander Jackson, a young officer with a brilliant mind for tactics, stepped forward. "Admiral, our long-range sensors have detected increased Zarkonian activity near the Proxima Centauri system. It appears they're setting up a forward operating base." Chen's jaw clenched. The Zarkonians, a species of silicon-based lifeforms, had been encroaching on human space for the past decade. Their initial encounters had been peaceful, but as humanity expanded its reach among the stars, the aliens' true nature became apparent. They saw humans as nothing more than vermin, infesting worlds they believed were rightfully theirs. "They're getting bolder," Chen muttered. "Prepare a transmission to Zarkonian High Command. It's time we drew a line in the sand." As her crew scrambled to establish a secure channel, Chen reflected on the journey that had led humanity to this point. The discovery of faster-than-light travel 50 years ago had catapulted Earth into a new era of exploration and colonization. Humanity had spread across dozens of star systems, terraforming barren worlds and building thriving colonies. But with expansion came conflict. The Zarkonians, with their superior technology and centuries of interstellar experience, saw humans as upstarts, unworthy of the cosmic real estate they now occupied. Diplomatic efforts had failed, and now, after years of skirmishes and proxy wars, it seemed that all-out conflict was inevitable. "Channel established," Admiral, reported Communications Officer Lisa Tran. "You're live with Zarkonian High Command." Chen took a deep breath, steeling herself for what was to come. The holographic display flickered, revealing the alien visage of Supreme Commander Zexlor. The Zarkonian's crystalline features were arranged in what Chen had learned to recognize as an expression of disdain. "Admiral Chen," Zexlor's voice reverberated through the bridge, a sound like grinding glass. "To what do we owe this unexpected communication?" Chen's voice was ice as she responded. "Supreme Commander, I'll cut to the chase. Your people's aggression against human colonies ends now. We've detected your forces amassing near Proxima Centauri. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." A sound erupted from Zexlor that might have been laughter. "You dare threaten us, human? Your species is but an infant in the cosmic scale. We have traversed the stars for millennia. What hope do you have against our might?" "More than you can imagine," Chen retorted. "We may be young, but we've faced extinction before. It's made us strong, adaptable. This is your only warning, Zexlor. Withdraw your forces from human space, or we're coming for you. And trust me, you don't want that." Zexlor's crystalline features rearranged into what Chen assumed was a sneer. "Empty threats from a primitive species. You have no concept of the forces you're dealing with. Perhaps it's time we stopped toying with your kind and showed you your true place in the universe." Chen's eyes narrowed. "You've made your choice then. Remember this moment, Zexlor. Remember that we gave you a chance for peace." With a nod to Tran, the transmission cut off. The bridge was silent for a moment, the weight of what had just transpired settling over the crew. "Orders, Admiral," Jackson asked, breaking the silence. Chen turned to face her crew, her expression resolute. "Send word to Earth and all our colonies. As of this moment, we are at war with the Zarkonian Empire. Initiate Protocol Omega." As her officers rushed to carry out her commands, Chen turned back to the holographic display. Countless dots representing human worlds glowed blue against the backdrop of the galaxy. She silently vowed to protect each and every one of them, no matter the cost. In the days that followed, humanity's response to the Zarkonian threat was nothing short of extraordinary. The United Earth government declared a state of emergency, mobilizing resources on a scale not seen since the darkest days of Earth's history. Shipyards that had been dormant for years roared to life, churning out warships and fighters at an unprecedented rate. Research facilities worked around the clock, pushing the boundaries of human technology in search of an edge against the alien threat. On colony worlds, civilians volunteered en masse for military service. Training camps sprang up overnight, preparing a new generation of soldiers for the battles to come. The spirit of unity that swept through human space was palpable, a collective determination to prove that humanity would not go quietly into the night. Admiral Chen found herself at the center of it all. As the hero of previous engagements with Zarkonian forces, she was appointed Supreme Commander of the newly formed Human Defense Fleet. Her days became a blur of strategy meetings, resource allocation, and rallying the troops. 2 weeks after her ultimatum to Zexlor, Chen stood before the United Earth Senate, delivering a speech that would be broadcast to every human settlement across the stars. People of Earth and her colonies, she began, her voice steady and strong. We stand at a crossroads in human history. For the first time, we face an enemy that threatens not just our way of life, but our very existence as a species. The Zarkonians believe us weak, unworthy of the stars we've claimed as our own. They think they can bully us into submission, force us back to our homeworld, and contain us like animals in a zoo. She paused, her gaze sweeping across the assembled senators and the countless viewers watching via holographic feeds. They're wrong. We are humanity. We've faced extinction before and emerged stronger. We've overcome plagues, world wars, and environmental disasters. We've united our planet and reached for the stars. And now we will show the Zarkonians and any other species watching that humanity is a force to be reckoned with. Cheers erupted from the Senate floor and from crowds gathered in city centers across human space. Chen raised her hand, calling for silence. Make no mistake, the road ahead will be difficult. We face an enemy with superior technology and centuries of interstellar experience. But we have something they lack, the indomitable human spirit. Our creativity, our adaptability, our sheer determination to survive and thrive against all odds. These are weapons the Zarkonians cannot match. She clenched her fist, her voice rising with passion. I promise you this, we will not only survive this war, we will emerge victorious. We will show the Zarkonians and the entire galaxy that humanity's place is among the stars. We gave them one warning. Now we're coming for them. And may whatever gods they believe in have mercy on their souls, because we will not. As Chen's speech concluded, a roar of approval swept through human space. From the towering skyscrapers of Earth to the farthest flung colonies, humanity united in a singular purpose: to fight, to survive, and to prove their worth to the cosmos. In the depths of space, aboard the UES Horizon, Admiral Chen returned to the bridge. Her eyes once again fell on the holographic display, where the blue dots of human worlds now pulsed with a newfound energy. Status report, she commanded, her voice filled with renewed determination. Lieutenant Commander Jackson stepped forward, a hint of a smile on his face. Admiral, Protocol Omega is in full effect. Our fleets are mobilizing, and we're receiving reports of technological breakthroughs from multiple research stations. It seems your speech has lit a fire under everyone. Chen nodded, a grim smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Good. The Zarkonians think they know what humanity is capable of. It's time we showed them how wrong they are. As the Horizon's engines hummed to life, preparing to jump to the front lines of the coming conflict, Chen couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity had been challenged, and they had risen to meet that challenge with everything they had. The stars themselves seemed to burn brighter as humanity prepared for the greatest test in its history. The message to the Zarkonians, and to the universe at large, was clear. Underestimate humanity at your own peril. Preparations. In the weeks following Admiral Chen's declaration of war, Human space became a hive of frenetic activity. The shipyards orbiting Earth, Mars, and several key colony worlds worked at maximum capacity, their scaffolding alive with construction drones and space-suited workers. New warships took shape at an astonishing rate, each one incorporating the latest advancements in human technology. On the UES horizon, now serving as the mobile command center for the human defense fleet, Admiral Chen pored over reports from across human space. The holographic display before her was a constantly shifting tableau of information: fleet movements, resource allocation, research breakthroughs, and intelligence on Zarkonian activities. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander Jackson's voice cut through her concentration. We've just received word from Project Prometheus. They're ready for a demonstration. Chen's eyes lit up with interest. Project Prometheus had been humanity's most closely guarded secret, a desperate attempt to level the playing field against the technologically superior Zarkonians. "Prepare my shuttle," she ordered. "I want to see this for myself." Hours later, Chen's shuttle touched down on a nondescript asteroid in a remote star system. As she stepped out, she was greeted by Dr. Ilara Voth, the brilliant and eccentric lead scientist of Project Prometheus. "Admiral," Voth said, her eyes gleaming with barely contained excitement, "you're just in time. We're about to test the prototype." Chen followed Voth through a series of airlocks and into a vast underground chamber. At its center stood a device that looked like a cross between a particle accelerator and a massive gun. A team of scientists and engineers bustled around it, making last-minute adjustments. "Is this it?" Chen asked, her voice hushed with awe. "The weapon that could turn the tide against the Zarkonians." Voz nodded, a fierce pride evident in her stance. "We call it the Graviton Lance. It harnesses the power of artificial microsingularities to create localized distortions in spacetime. In layman's terms, Admiral, it tears holes in the fabric of reality." Chen's eyebrows shot up. "And you're sure it works?" "That's what we're about to find out," Voz replied with a grin. She turned to her team. "Initiate test sequence." The chamber hummed with energy as the Graviton Lance powered up. A targeting array at one end of the room displayed a holographic representation of a Zarkonian warship. Chen watched, her heart pounding, as a beam of shimmering energy lanced out from the device. The effect was instantaneous and terrifying. Where the beam struck the holographic ship, space itself seemed to twist and tear. In seconds, the entire vessel was torn apart, shredded by forces that defied conventional physics. As the hologram faded, a stunned silence fell over the chamber. Chen turned to Voz, her expression a mixture of awe and trepidation. "Doctor, what have we created?" Voz's reply was solemn. "A chance, Admiral. A chance for humanity to survive." While humanity raced to prepare its defenses, the Zarkonian Empire was far from idle. In the crystalline halls of their capital world, Zarkon Prime, Supreme Commander Zexlor convened a war council. "The humans have made their choice." Zexlor's voice resonated through the chamber. "They choose extinction. We shall oblige them." High Admiral Krylax, Zexlor's most trusted military advisor, stepped forward. "Supreme Commander, with all due respect, we may be underestimating these humans. Their rate of technological advancement is unprecedented. In the short time since we first encountered them, they've gone from primitive chemical rockets to faster-than-light travel." Zexlor's crystalline form shifted, a sign of irritation. "Are you suggesting these mammals pose a genuine threat to the Empire?" "I'm suggesting we approach this conflict with caution," Krylax replied. "The humans have demonstrated remarkable adaptability. We should not assume this will be an easy conquest." For a moment, the war chamber was silent as Zexlor considered Krylax's words. Finally, the Supreme Commander spoke. "Your concerns are noted, High Admiral, but the die is cast. Prepare our fleets. We will strike at the heart of human space and crush their resistance before it can truly begin." As the War Council dispersed, Krylax couldn't shake a feeling of unease. The humans had surprised them before. He feared they might do so again, with devastating consequences. Back in human space, the preparations for war extended far beyond military buildup. On Earth and every colony world, civilian industries retooled for wartime production. Factories that once produced luxury goods now churned out armor plating and weapon components. Vertical farms worked overtime to stockpile food supplies. Every aspect of human society was gearing up for the coming storm. In universities and research labs, scientists and engineers worked tirelessly to push the boundaries of human knowledge. Advances that might have taken decades in peacetime were achieved in weeks, driven by the urgent need to survive. On the colony world of New Eden, Dr. Yuki Tanaka stood before a gathering of the planet's leading minds. Her team had just achieved a breakthrough that could revolutionize human defenses. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, her voice trembling with excitement, "I'm pleased to announce that Project Aegis has succeeded. We've developed a shield technology capable of withstanding direct hits from Zarkonian energy weapons." The room erupted in cheers and applause. As the celebration died down, one of her colleagues asked, "How soon can we implement this on our ships and colonies?" Tanaka's expression grew serious. "That's where we need your help. We need to scale this up, and fast. Every ship, every colony needs this protection before the Zarkonians strike." As the scientists began to discuss implementation strategies, a similar scene was playing out across human space. Every breakthrough, every innovation was immediately shared and built upon. Humanity's greatest minds were working in concert, driven by a singular purpose: survival. In orbit around Mars, the first ship equipped with the Graviton Lance prepared for its maiden voyage. The UES Defiant, a sleek vessel that represented the pinnacle of human engineering, hummed with barely contained power. On its bridge, Captain Elena Rodriguez addressed her crew. "Men and women of the Defiant, we carry with us the hopes of humanity. Our mission is clear. We will take the fight to the Zarkonians. We will show them that humanity is not to be trifled with. Are you with me?" The crew's resounding cheer was answer enough. As the Defiant's engines flared to life, Rodriguez couldn't help but feel a sense of destiny. They were about to change the course of the war, and perhaps the future of humanity itself. As both sides geared up for the impending conflict, the galaxy held its breath. The Zarkonians, confident in their superiority, prepared to teach humanity a harsh lesson. But humanity, united as never before and armed with their remarkable ingenuity, stood ready to defy the odds. The stage was set for a confrontation that would shape the future of two species and perhaps the entire Milky Way. As Admiral Chen watched the Defiant depart on its mission, she silently hoped that the preparations they had made would be enough. The real test was yet to come. First contact. The vast emptiness of space was shattered by the sudden appearance of the UES Defiant. The ship dropped out of Fifth Drive, its sleek hull gleaming in the light of an unfamiliar star. Captain Elena Rodriguez stood on the bridge, her eyes fixed on the main view screen. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steadied despite the tension that filled the air. Lieutenant Sarah Chen, no relation to the Admiral, but every bit as sharp, responded quickly. "All systems nominal, Captain. We've arrived at the coordinates of the suspected Zarkonian outpost." Rodriguez nodded, her expression grim. "Scan the area. Let's see what we're dealing with." For a moment, the bridge was silent save for the soft beeping of sensors. Then, Lieutenant Chen's voice cut through the quiet. "Contact. Multiple Zarkonian vessels detected. They're moving to surround us." Rodriguez's jaw clenched. This was it, humanity's first major engagement with the Zarkonians. "Battle stations," she ordered, her voice ringing with authority. "Prepare the Graviton Lance." As klaxons blared throughout the ship, the crew rushed to their positions. In the weapons control room, Chief Weapons Officer Marcus Queasy inputted the final calibrations for the Graviton Lance. His hands moved swiftly over the controls, years of training kicking in despite the unprecedented nature of the weapon he was about to unleash. On the bridge, the view screen lit up with the approaching Zarkonian ships. Their crystalline structures glittered menacingly, energy weapons charging as they closed in on the lone human vessel. "They're hailing us," Lieutenant Chen reported. Rodriguez straightened her uniform. On screen, the face that appeared was alien in every sense of the word. The Zarkonian commander's features were a complex arrangement of crystalline structures, shifting and realigning as it spoke. "Human vessel." The alien's voice grated like rough stone. "You have trespassed in Zarkonian space. Surrender now, and we may show mercy." Rodriguez's eyes narrowed. "This is Captain Elena Rodriguez of the UES Defiant. We are in neutral space, as defined by galactic law. It is you who are the aggressors here. Stand down or face the consequences." The Zarkonian commander's features rearranged in what might have been amusement. "You dare to threaten us? You're primitive." Rodriguez cut the transmission with a sharp gesture. "Target the lead ship," she ordered. "It's time to show them what humanity is capable of." In the weapons control room, Queasy received the order. His finger hovered over the firing control for a split second. This was a moment that would go down in history. The first use of the graviton lance in actual combat. He took a deep breath and pressed the button. The Defiant shuddered as the graviton lance discharged. A beam of shimmering energy lanced out towards the lead Zarkonian ship. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, space itself seemed to twist and tear around the alien vessel. The effect was catastrophic. The Zarkonian ship was torn apart, shredded by forces that defied conventional physics. In seconds, where a mighty warship had been, there was nothing but scattered debris. A stunned silence fell over the Defiance bridge. It was Lieutenant Chen who finally broke it. "Target destroyed, Captain. The other Zarkonian ships are. They're retreating." Rodriguez allowed herself a small smile. "Send a message to Admiral Chen. Tell her the graviton lance works as advertised. And let's get out of here before they come back with reinforcements." As the Defiant jumped to FTL, leaving the scattered remains of the Zarkonian ship behind, news of the engagement spread like wildfire through human space. Humanity had stood toe-to-toe with the Zarkonians and emerged victorious. On Zarkon Prime, the news of the defeat was met with shock and outrage. Supreme Commander Zexlor paced furiously in the war chamber, his crystalline form pulsing with anger. "Impossible," he raged. "How could one human ship destroy our most advanced warship? What kind of weapon could do such a thing?" High Admiral Krylak stepped forward, his posture cautious. "Supreme Commander, I warned that we might be underestimating the humans. This new weapon of theirs, it defies our understanding of physics. We need to reassess our strategy." Zexlor whirled on Krylak, his form bristling with sharp edges. "Reassess? No. We will crush these upstarts before they can produce more of these weapons. Prepare the fleet. We attack their colonies immediately." As Krylak hurried to carry out the orders, he couldn't shake a feeling of dread. The humans had proven far more dangerous than anyone had anticipated. He feared that Zexlor's pride might lead the entire empire to ruin. Back on Earth, Admiral Sarah Chen stood before the United Earth Senate, delivering news of the Defiant's victory. The chamber was filled with a mixture of jubilation and trepidation. "Senators," Chen began, her voice carrying easily through the vast room, "today marks a turning point in our conflict with the Zarkonians. The graviton lance has proven its effectiveness in combat. But make no mistake, this is only the beginning." She paused, her gaze sweeping across the assembled lawmakers. "The Zarkonians will not take this defeat lightly. We must expect retaliation, and soon. Every colony, every ship must be prepared for attack. But we have shown that humanity can stand against the Zarkonian threat. We have shown that we will not go quietly into the night." As Chen's words were broadcast across human space, a wave of determination swept through the populace. In shipyards and factories, Production doubled, then tripled. On colony worlds, defense systems were hastily upgraded. In laboratories, scientists worked around the clock to refine the graviton lance technology and develop new weapons to counter the Zarkonian threat. Aboard the UES Horizon, Admiral Chen pored over intelligence reports. The Zarkonians were massing their forces, preparing for a major offensive. The next clash would not be a single ship against a small fleet. It would be a battle that could determine the fate of both species. As she studied the star charts, plotting strategies and contingencies, Chen couldn't help but feel a mix of pride and apprehension. Humanity had bloodied the Zarkonians' nose, but the real fight was yet to come. The coming days would test humanity like never before. But as reports flooded in from across human space, of new technologies being developed, of colonies banding together for mutual defense, of volunteers flooding recruitment centers, Chen allowed herself a moment of hope. Humanity had faced extinction before and survived. They would do so again. As the Horizon's engines hummed to life, preparing to jump to the front lines of the coming conflict, Chen sent out a fleet-wide transmission. To all ships and colonies, the enemy is coming, but we are ready. Remember what we fight for. Not just our own survival, but for our right to exist among the stars. Stand firm. Stand together. For Earth and all her children. The response was immediate and resounding. From the smallest patrol ship to the largest colony, humans rallied to the call. The Zarkonians were coming, but humanity would meet them head-on. The war for the future of the galaxy had truly begun. The turning point. The red giant star Aldebaran cast an eerie glow over the assembled fleets. On one side, the crystalline shapes of Zarkonian warships glittered menacingly. On the other, the sleek hulls of human vessels stood in defiance. This was to be the largest engagement of the war so far, a battle that could determine the fate of an entire sector. Aboard the UES Horizon, Admiral Sarah Chen surveyed the holographic display of the battlefield. The human fleet was outnumbered nearly 2-1, but Chen knew that numbers weren't everything. They had surprises in store for the Zarkonians. "All ships, report in," she commanded, her voice steady despite the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. One by one, the captains of the human fleet acknowledged their readiness. Last to report was Captain Elena Rodriguez of the Defiant. "Graviton Lance is hot and ready, Admiral. Just say the word." Chen nodded, a grim smile playing at the corners of her mouth. "Remember the plan. Let them come to us. Defensive formation Delta, and may fortune favor the bold." As the human ships moved into position, the Zarkonian fleet began its advance. At their head was the flagship of High Admiral Krylax, a massive vessel that dwarfed even the largest human ships. Inside the crystalline command center of his flagship, Krylax studied the human formation with a mixture of anticipation and unease. "They're not advancing," he mused, curious. A subordinate approached, his crystalline form vibrating with eagerness. "High Admiral, should we not press our advantage? We outnumber them significantly." Krylax's form shifted in what might have been a frown. "Numbers are not everything, young one. These humans have proven more cunning than we anticipated. We advance cautiously." As the Zarkonian fleet moved forward, tension mounted on both sides. On the horizon, Chen watched the enemy's approach with laser focus. "Steady," she murmured, more to herself than to her crew. "Steady." The space between the fleets crackled with energy as the Zarkonians came into range. Their energy weapons flared to life, lancing out towards the human ships. But instead of the expected devastation, the beams splashed harmlessly against shimmering barriers. "Aegis shields holding at 95%, Admiral," reported Lieutenant Commander Jackson, a note of triumph in his voice. Chen allowed herself a small smile. Dr. Tanaka's shield technology was proving its worth. "Now," she commanded, "spring the trap." At her word, a dozen human ships that had been hanging back suddenly surged forward. These were the ships equipped with graviton lances, Defiant among them. As one, they fired. The effect was catastrophic for the Zarkonian fleet. Ships were torn apart by forces they couldn't comprehend, entire squadrons reduced to debris in seconds. The carefully ordered Zarkonian formation dissolved into chaos. On his flagship, Krylax watched in horror as his fleet was decimated. "Impossible," he breathed. But even as despair threatened to overwhelm him, his tactical mind was working. "All ships, close distance," he ordered. "Their weapon seems to lose effectiveness at close range. Engage in point-blank combat." The remaining Zarkonian ships surged forward, closing the distance to the human fleet. Energy weapons flared, and this time, even the Aegis shields couldn't completely negate the damage. Human ships began to fall. "Admiral," Jackson called out, his voice tense, "we're taking heavy losses in sectors 3 and 4. The Zarkonians are inside the effective range of our graviton lances." Chen's mind raced. This was the moment that would decide the battle, and perhaps the war. Then, an idea struck her. "All ships with graviton lances," she commanded. "Target the space between the Zarkonian ships. Let's see how they like a taste of their own chaos." The order was carried out immediately. The graviton lances fired not at the Zarkonian ships themselves, but at the empty space between them. The fabric of space-time twisted and tore, creating localized gravity wells that pulled the alien ships off course. Zarkonian vessels collided with each other, their formations shattered. In the midst of the chaos, the Defiant found itself face-to-face with Krylax's flagship. Captain Rodriguez didn't hesitate. "Fire everything we've got," she ordered. The Defiant's weapons blazed, pouring fire into the massive Zarkonian vessel. For a moment, it seemed like the assault would be in vain. Then, a lucky shot from the graviton lance caught the flagship's power core. The resulting explosion was visible across the entire battlefield. As Krylax's flagship erupted into a ball of crystalline shards, the remaining fight went out of the Zarkonian fleet. Ships began to retreat, jumping to FTL in a desperate bid to escape. On the Horizon's bridge, a cheer went up as the last Zarkonian ship disappeared from their sensors. They had done it. Against overwhelming odds, humanity had won a decisive victory. Admiral Chen allowed her crew a moment of celebration before calling for order. "This is a great victory," she announced, her voice carrying across the fleet. "But the war is far from over. Dispatch rescue ships to assist our damaged vessels, and send word to Earth. Tell them that humanity has held the line." As the human fleet regrouped, tending to their wounded and salvaging what they could from the battlefield, news of the victory spread like wildfire across human space. On every world, in every colony, humans celebrated. They had stood against the might of the Zarkonian Empire and emerged victorious. But on Zarkon Prime, the mood was anything but celebratory. Supreme Commander Zexlor raged as he received news of the defeat. "Incompetence," he roared, his crystalline form pulsing with fury. "How could we lose to these primitives?" An aide approached cautiously. "Supreme Commander, we've received word from our forward bases. The humans, they're advancing. Multiple colonies have already fallen." Zexlor fell silent, his form going still in a way that was more terrifying than his rage. When he spoke again, his voice was cold. "Prepare our final defenses. If these humans want a war of extinction, we shall oblige them." As orders went out across the Zarkonian Empire to prepare for a final desperate stand, humanity pressed its advantage. The tide of war had turned, and now it was the Zarkonians who found themselves fighting for survival. Aboard the Horizon, Admiral Chen studied the latest intelligence reports. The path to Zarkon Prime lay open before them. "Send word to all fleets," she ordered. "We advance on the enemy homeworld. It's time to end this war." As the human fleet prepared for their final push, Chen couldn't help but reflect on the cost of their victory. So many lives lost, so much destruction. But they had proven that humanity deserved its place among the stars. Whatever came next, there would be no doubt. Underestimate humanity at your peril. The stage was set for the final confrontation. Humanity, armed with their indomitable spirit and newfound technological prowess, versus the Zarkonian Empire, fighting with the desperation of a cornered animal. The fate of two species, and perhaps the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. Resolution. The space around Zarkon Prime was a maelstrom of chaos. The combined fleets of humanity had arrived in force, their ships darkening the skies of the Zarkonian homeworld. But the Zarkonians weren't going down without a fight. Their remaining ships fought with the desperation of a species facing extinction, turning the space around their planet into a killing field. Aboard the UES Horizon, Admiral Sarah Chen watched the battle unfold with grim determination. They had fought so hard, come so far, but the final victory still hung in the balance. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the tension that filled the bridge. Lieutenant Commander Jackson responded quickly. "We're making progress, Admiral, but taking heavy losses. The Zarkonians have activated some kind of planetary defense system. It's like nothing we've ever seen before." Chen nodded, her mind racing. They had anticipated heavy defenses, but this was beyond their worst expectations. Massive energy beams lanced out from the planet's surface, cutting through human ships like they were made of paper. "We need to take out those planetary defenses," Chen muttered, more to herself than to her crew. But how? The graviton lances, so effective in space combat, couldn't penetrate the planet's atmosphere without losing cohesion. As if in answer to her unspoken question, a transmission came through. "Admiral Chen, this is Dr. Ilarava. I think I have a solution to our problem." Chen's eyebrows shot up in surprise. The lead scientist of Project Prometheus was supposed to be safely back on Earth. "Dr. Vos, what are you doing here?" "No time to explain," Vos replied, her voice tense but excited. "I've been working on a modification to the graviton lance. If we can get close enough to the planet, we might be able to create a gravity well large enough to disrupt their entire defense. Network," Dr. Vos finished, her voice crackling with static over the comm channel. Chen's mind raced with the possibilities. It was a risky plan, but at this point, they were running out of options. "What do you need, Doctor?" she asked. "I need to get to the Defiant," Vos replied. "Captain Rodriguez's ship is the only one with a graviton lance powerful enough to attempt this." Chen nodded, even though Vos couldn't see her. "Understood. I'll clear you a path." She turned to her communications officer. "Get me the Defiant." Moments later, Captain Elena Rodriguez's face appeared on the main view screen. She looked battered but determined, a small cut above her left eye testament to the ferocity of the battle. "Captain," Chen began without preamble, "I'm sending Dr. Vos to your ship. She has a plan that might turn the tide of this battle. I need you to get as close to the planet as you can. Can you do it?" Rodriguez's jaw set in determination. "Consider it done, Admiral. We'll get Dr. Vos where she needs to be." As the Defiant maneuvered to rendezvous with Dr. Vos's shuttle, Chen turned her attention back to the battle at large. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Concentrate your fire on the Zarkonian fleet. We need to clear a path for the Defiant." The space around Zarkon Prime erupted in a new wave of violence as the human fleet pressed their attack with renewed vigor. Graviton lances flashed, tearing holes in the fabric of space-time and shredding Zarkonian ships. But the aliens fought back with equal ferocity, their energy weapons blazing across the void. Aboard the Defiant, Dr. Vos worked feverishly to modify the ship's graviton lance, her hands flying over the controls with practiced ease. Captain Rodriguez watched anxiously from the bridge, acutely aware of the battle raging around them. "How much longer, Doctor?" Rodriguez asked over the intercom. "Almost there," Vos replied, her voice strained with concentration. "Just a few more adjustments." Suddenly, the ship rocked violently. "We've been hit," the tactical officer shouted. shields down to 30%. Rodriguez gritted her teeth. Evasive maneuvers. We need to buy the doctor more time. As the Defiant weaved through the chaos of battle on the surface of Zarkon Prime, Supreme Commander Zexlor watched with growing despair. His mighty empire, which had stood for millennia, was crumbling before his eyes. Supreme Commander, one of his advisors, approached cautiously. Perhaps it's time to consider surrender. Zexlor's crystalline form pulsed with fury. Surrender? To these primitives? Never. We will fight to the last Zarkonian if we must. But even as the words left him, a part of Zexlor knew the battle was already lost. He had underestimated the humans, dismissed them as insignificant. Now, they were on the verge of destroying everything he had built. Back on the Defiant, Dr. Vaux's voice crackled over the intercom. It's ready. Captain, get us as close to the planet as you can. Rodriguez didn't hesitate. Helm, take us in. All power to forward shields. The Defiant plunged towards Zarkon Prime, dodging energy beams and debris. As they entered the upper atmosphere, the ship shuddered violently, straining against the planet's gravitational pull. Now, Doctor, Rodriguez shouted. In the weapons bay, Dr. Vaux activated the modified graviton lance. The ship bucked as the weapon discharged, a beam of shimmering energy lancing down towards the planet's surface. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, the fabric of space-time around Zarkon Prime began to twist and distort. The planetary defense system flickered and died as gravity itself warped around the planet. It's working, Vaux shouted triumphantly. The gravity well is disrupting their entire defense network. On the horizon, Admiral Chen watched in awe as the Zarkonian defenses crumbled. All ships pressed the attack. She ordered, "Victory is within our grasp." With their defenses neutralized, the remaining Zarkonian resistance quickly collapsed. Within hours, human ships were landing on the surface of Zarkon Prime itself. In the crystalline halls of the Zarkonian High Command, Supreme Commander Zexlor found himself face to face with Admiral Sarah Chen. The human admiral stood tall, her uniform crisp despite the chaos of battle, a stark contrast to Zexlor's fractured and dimmed crystalline form. Supreme Commander Zexlor, Chen began, her voice firm but not unkind. On behalf of the United Earth Government and all of humanity, I'm here to discuss the terms of your surrender. Zexlor's form pulsed weakly, a far cry from his former imposing presence. Surrender, he echoed, the word seeming to pain him. How? How did you defeat us? We who have ruled the stars for millennia. Chen's expression softened slightly. You underestimated us, Commander. Humanity has faced extinction before. It's made us resilient, adaptable. We don't give up, even when the odds seem insurmountable. For a long moment, Zexlor was silent. Then, slowly, his form shifted into what Chen had learned to recognize as a gesture of submission. Very well, Admiral. The Zarkonian Empire surrenders. As news of the Zarkonian surrender spread across the galaxy, celebrations erupted on Earth and every human colony. They had done it. Against all odds, humanity had not only survived but triumphed. In the days that followed, Chen found herself in countless meetings, negotiating the terms of peace and the future relationship between humans and Zarkonians. It was grueling work, but necessary to ensure a lasting peace. One evening, as she stood on a balcony overlooking the crystalline spires of the Zarkonian capital, Chen was joined by Dr. Ilara Vaux. Quite a view, isn't it? Vaux remarked, gazing out at the alien landscape. Chen nodded. It's beautiful. Hard to believe we were at war with them just days ago. Vaux turned to Chen, her expression serious. What happens now, Admiral? Where do we go from here? Chen was silent for a moment, considering the question. We rebuild, she said finally. Both our societies have suffered greatly in this war. But perhaps in rebuilding, we can forge a new understanding between our species. The galaxy is vast, Dr. Voss. There's room enough for all of us, if we're willing to work together. As they stood there, watching the alien sun set on a new era, Chen couldn't help but feel a sense of hope. The road ahead would be challenging, but humanity had proven itself equal to the task. They had faced the stars and emerged victorious, earning their place in the cosmic community. The message to the galaxy was clear. Humanity was here to stay. They were not to be underestimated or trifled with, but they were also capable of mercy, of building bridges where once there were only walls. As night fell on Zarkon Prime, the first stars began to appear in the sky. Among them, Chen knew, was Sol, Earth's sun. It seemed closer somehow, a reminder of how far they had come and the home they had fought so hard to protect. The war was over. The real work of peace was just beginning. But as Chen looked out at the stars, she knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, humanity would face them together, with the same indomitable spirit that had carried them to victory. The galaxy would never be the same again, and neither would humanity.